Welcome to my presentation on A/B testing on GitHub. GitHub is the home of open source software development and is a place I can put my code for others to see and use. I work at GitHub, and one of the challenges that exists sometimes is convincing companies and enterprises that use private GitHub to leverage code from this public open source, even though there are several benefits to this. One common reason companies refuse to leverage public code is because they deem the code insecure, because it can be written by anyone. To solve this problem, GitHub has made its security tool called GitHub Advanced Security free for anyone doing public work. GitHub Advanced Security scans your code and prevents you or others from making changes that could cause your code to be exploitable. Another problem arises though. Public code owners don't often turn on advanced security despite it being free, therefore leading to this experiment. So the webpage I've chosen for this experiment is the repository homepage, where a code owner or contributor can interact with their code. You'll notice that this page is the gateway to the security tab, which is the link of interest for activating GitHub Advanced Security. You'll also notice that there's a lot happening on this page, which is not uncommon for developer use, so we have a few options on what we want to do. Therefore, the objective is clear based off of what I've said before. We want to increase the activation rate of advanced security through leading them to that security page. So this increased activation rate would allow for two things overall. One is a stronger platform security story, which would help unblock adoption of GitHub by large conservative enterprises, so more money for the company. But two is also reducing churn risk by making GitHub stickier. Basically, by opening the door for enterprises to use GitHub public repositories, there's unique value of being on GitHub that cannot easily be replicated by competitors. So what are the outcomes to track for the experiment? The main one is around the activation rate of this feature, which can only be done by going to the security page. Therefore, for the context of this experiment and this webpage, the outcome will be the click-through rate to the security page. This is often referred to as impressions to click in our context, or ITC. Now, in terms of the hypotheses, there's a lot that you could do. I've come up with about 7. And generally, research suggests that colors, certain colors or callouts in the form of banners could make a person more likely to click on a button, which could increase the click-through rate for our purposes. Therefore, I would like to test some of the following. Changing the security tab button color, as you can see here, to different colors, yellow, red, or blue, for example, or adding a banner. This banner could be in different locations. I have a small mock-up here of what it would look like under the repository title, but I've also suggested adding a banner above the About section in a repository. Again, these are all places that developers would be looking at. Out of all these hypotheses, the interventions that I would want to focus on are the following. We have tests towards changing the security tab color to yellow or red through B and C. Obviously, A is going to be the default intervention, and then the final intervention is adding a yellow banner to the repository title. I've chosen the options for B and C due to simplicity and implementation ease. It's just a color change, so CSS, which is pretty easy, and banner exploration, which could be another option for D. The unit of randomization would be an individual user. Here we are able to track this because users are logged into GitHub most of the time to perform interactions with it, whether you own the public repository or not. Other like web pages or visit sessions are feasible but would not provide as rich details as the user for this experiment. And then the threats to validity. There's a few threats. I've noted 3. One is an improper or buggy implementation of the A/B tests, which could include overlapping tests, maybe tests not tied to the user. If there's any technical problem, this would be an issue. Note that it's very common for users to switch between like laptops and mobile devices, especially for developers. So this is definitely a potential problem. Another one is multiple accounts. Users might sometimes have multiple accounts, and randomizing at the user level could cause different experiences across these different accounts. And then interaction effects. So the A/B test options laid out could miss interactions between other variables that have not been changed. For example, the security tab that I wanted to change to yellow, you could also change the bolding or font style and that could impact the click-through rate. Thank you for listening to this potential A/B test and looking forward to proposing this internally. This is a fun experiment.